In 1987, George Harrison, 17 years after leaving the Beatles and in a solo career, had just recorded his album Cloud 9. An immediate success mainly due to the explosion of the single I've Got My Mind Set on You that reached #1 on the charts in several countries. Buoyed by the success of the album, the label came up with the idea of asking George for an unreleased song to form the B-side of a second single to be released with the song This Is Love, which was already part of the Cloud 9 album and which would be the A-side of the single. So the label asked Jeff Lynne to talk to George about this new project. Jeff was the frontman of the band Electric Light Orchestra, was George's personal friend and producer of the album Cloud 9. Jeff and George were in LA to promote the album and they came up with the idea of asking Bob Dylan to borrow his studio to record the song. Bob Dylan promptly said yes and also said that he would like to accompany them to the sessions. George thought it was great because, in addition to the friendship he had cultivated with Dylan since the time of the Beatles, he was going through a phase of low creativity and that conviviality could somehow help him. Jeff, who was producing Roy Orbison's new album in LA, told Roy that he would be joining Harrison and Dylan in a week at Bob's studio to record a new song, and that if he wanted so, it would be very nice to have him along to see his friends again. Roy was already a rock legend and was a great idol of George, Jeff and Dylan. He loved the invitation and said he would be there on the appointed date. George, who lived in London, had not brought any equipment for the trip. He recalled that some time ago he had left a guitar at Tom Petty's house on a night of a party they had there. Tom Petty, upon learning where George was going and who would be with him, said he would love to participate. That's it, the meeting of the five giants of rock was set. Arriving at Dylan's studio, in addition to the reunion between the old friends, they discovered that George did not have any material ready to record, and they ended up sitting down at the table to eat, drink and chat. Little did they know that the need to write a new song would only increase the bond between them. Sitting at the table enjoying each other's presence, Jeff ran his hand over two guitars, sheets of paper and pen and handed them out. Ideas were emerging and being shared from an expression that was written on a cardboard box thrown in the corner of the room. It read, "Handle with care." Each one with their instrument in hand with a different hunch. The song was sprouting amidst laughter and new verses and chords. Suddenly they had a song, "Handle with Care." The group recorded the song's bass right there in Dylan's studio, and Jeff Lynne finished it with George in his London studio days later. When the record company executives received the material, they realized that it was too good to be a B-side of a single. George then got a record deal with the company for them to record an entire album. Being able to repeat those moments of friendship, relaxation and creation was something unexpected but immediately enchanted him. Showing the proposal to their friends, they all tried to fit dates into their schedule and start composing and recording songs for the band's first album that until then didn't even have a name. They all showed up for the recordings with wonderful but unfinished ideas for unreleased material, so they would meet and help each other refine that raw material until it had taken the form of a song that expressed the size and feeling of that team of masters. Although he did not collaborate much in the composition, the presence of Roy Orbison in those days and the chilling vocals he put into most of the songs played a major role in the very high quality of the album. The name Traveling Wilburys came from a joke George used in the studio on the recordings of Cloud 9. He would tell Jeff that any mistake they made they would bury in the editing. The band's first LP was released in October '88 and peaked at number 3 on the US charts. It was certified triple platinum, a smash hit around the world. MTV kept showing the clips on its schedule. While still celebrating the success of the album, they received a sad news that Roy Orbison had suffered a heart attack. He passed away less than 2 months after the LP's release. Maybe it was the biggest reason why the Traveling Wilburys didn't have a long career with many albums recorded. album. To fulfill the contract, they recorded only a second album, ironically called Traveling Wilburys 3, where you still hear the brilliance of the 4 original members of the band, but without Roy's voice. A music video of the song End of the Line from the first album was recorded after his death. The recording takes place in a train car with the original members of the band sitting, playing, singing and enjoy the journey, while in a rocking chair rests Roy Orbison's iconic guitar, and behind it appears a picture frame with his photo, a beautiful tribute they made to the friend who had left them. On YouTube you can find all the band's work. Songs like Handle with Care, Heading for the Light and Not Alone Anymore are masterpieces that demonstrate very well the genius of each artist of the Superband. You can also find a great documentary called The True Story of the Traveling Wilburys. The LP Traveling Wilburys Volume 1 sold over 5 million copies worldwide, and Rolling Stone magazine placed it on the list of the 100 greatest albums of all time. If you enjoyed this video and like this channel, subscribe, leave a like, give me a suggestion about what story you wanna hear so I can always improve and bring you new and better videos.